The worst thing about having fibroids was feeling like there was an alien inside of me. I had such horrible cramps. I had a feeling of heaviness, a feeling of being totally out of control. Well, it was devastating to my social life and to my professional life. Professionally, I was always concerned about having an accident at work. The worst thing you can do is to be prepared to stand up before people and then find that you have a big mess. All other doctors had told me that you have fibroids. Why don't you have a hysterectomy and take care of the problem? Because after all, you're approaching menopause. You're not going to have any babies. You're not going to need it. So take those things out. Let's get rid of the uterus and you won't have to worry about this. Well, I thought that was horrible. My oldest sister had had a complete hysterectomy at the age of 27, and she was devastated. The thing that impressed me most about the embolization was the simplicity, the ease, and the lack of extended downtime. Well, I thought it was like something out of science fiction at first, because I said, if it was so good, why doesn't everybody have one? Why isn't this widely known? Why are there so few doctors that do this procedure? My results were actually spectacular. It was the best thing that happened to me. I found out that in 3 days, I was up and about and doing everything that I wanted to do. I went back to work on the 4th day. I had a complete buoyance in my spirit. I just felt just completely relieved. The thing that changed for me was a sense of freedom. I mean, it was actually euphoria. My message to any woman that's considering having a hysterectomy, my first word would be stop. Stop. The most important thing would be to feel that you can be a complete woman without fibroids, that you don't have to rely on any other medical interventions. You don't have to have your body invaded. You can get that problem taken care of with simplicity and ease. It'll be 12 years soon since I've had the embolization, and I've had no reoccurrence of problems. I have eased into menopause with grace and dignity, and I've had no adverse effects. I'd like to tell young women everywhere, women in their 20s, 30s, and even 40s, please don't delay. Please don't be deceived into thinking that there is something else that should be done. Have a simple fibroid embolization and relieve yourself of the stress of a life of misery. Enjoy life again.
Until I actually had fibroids, I didn't know how much that they could suck the life out of your body. I mean, literally, you don't want to go anywhere. You can't walk. I'm a single, working business professional, and it's hard to get out as it is when you're single. But if you're confined to home, you really can't go out and mingle with people. So while everybody moved off and got married and did their thing, I had to stay at home. So it's kind of like, you feel like a late bloomer trying to get back in the game. But it's very frustrating because, you really couldn't socialize. That was like the biggest thing. And, it's, when you're single, it's kind of hard. A lot of lonely times, When I first found out I had fibroids, I'd never heard of it before. So when I started talking to family members about it, oh, yeah, I had that once. Oh, so-and-so had that. Or, yeah, I've heard about those. It's like, okay, where's the dialogue? How come no one's ever mentioned this before? So when I first, my first gynecologist basically told me that the only way to get rid of them right now was to remove them via the myomectomy procedure or to get a hysterectomy. They didn't say hysterectomy right off the bat. They said once they went in and saw how many I had, then they said with 10, your best bet is probably, either you can remove them via myomectomy, however they can grow back. So really your best option is a hysterectomy. I didn't know enough about the situation to know that there could be other options. So I just thought, wow, this is the end of the world. I have to get a hysterectomy. I mean, mind you, I've been to 3 different gynecologists and all of them said, I'm the worst case scenario. I mean, one of my doctors said of his 25 years of doing myomectomies, I was his second worst case that he'd ever seen. So when I was sitting in my car and literally thinking about, I'm going to have to schedule a hysterectomy, and this radio ad came on introducing the Fibroid Treatment Collective, explaining about fibroids and that you don't have to have a hysterectomy. When I heard those words, those were the key words, and I perked up. And they said, check out the Fibroid Treatment Collective, go to fibroids.com, read up the information, come in for a free consultation. And I come in and I start telling my story, and I'm really dramatic, telling him all this information. Dr. McLuhan is sitting there really calm. He's like, yeah, we can fix that. And I'm going, you can fix that? Like, that's the first time I ever heard anybody just calmly say, oh, no problem. Yeah, we can definitely fix that. It's doable. And I'm like, but they told me mines were too big. He said, they're not too big for embolization. No, they don't have enough information on it. We can definitely help you. But everything was just smooth. I come in and, they get you all geared up and everything. And they said, everything's going to be fine. You're going to be fine. And, pretty sure I was out. When I woke up, I was like, oh, I didn't feel anything. To be able to go out and enjoy life again and not even have to think about, it makes you humble. And just to think that you have fibroids and your only option is a hysterectomy, I mean, come on. We're in the 21st century. Times are changing. So, they just need to be more educated on other options that are out there. And embolization is the top notch right now.
I think for so long I have had this problem that it became normal. It was normal. My relationship, I knew he was cheating on me. And I wish he would just say to me, you know what, I'm cheating on you. But he wouldn't say that because you know what, the truth is, I would say, honey, go ahead and have fun. I would have done that because I can't do for you what you want right now. I knew he was cheating and I knew it was a problem of me being uncomfortable with all the pain. It was very painful. So I could not enjoy myself and he wasn't enjoying himself with me. I found out about Fibroid Treatment Collective because I went online. I said, I'll just type in removing fibroid without surgery. And I typed that in and, the Fibroid Treatment Collective popped up. I went to get the fibroid embolization because I did not want to have a traditional surgery. And I have had the traditional surgery and I did not want to go through another procedure where I know they're going to dig inside my uterus to get whatever they had to get out, or neither did I want to wait for them to grow. So I decided, okay, it's non-surgical. I'm done in a week. I can go back to work. So instead of being off a month, being off for 7 days beats anything. So I went online. I filled out the survey. I got a call the next day. By Friday, I had a consultation. And by Monday, I had the procedure done. I would describe fibroid embolization as a grape on a vine, and it cuts off the source of nutrients to it, and it just dries up like a raisin. So that's the way I actually describe it to my friends. The best part of getting fibroid embolization is knowing that I'm not anemic, that I'm not going to fall out one day at work because my blood count is so low. And I've been at work where the room starts spinning, or I'm driving and all of a sudden I'm dizzy, and just knowing that I could die from having low blood count, and now I don't worry about that. Yeah, sorry. Right now I'm not in a relationship, but I think it would be so different than the experience before. Just having a libido just having a libido makes a huge difference, because before it was like, sex, what? What's that, So that's a huge change.
I did not know I had fibroids. I didn't know what fibroids were. So when I actually had a miscarriage, and the doctor advised me that I had fibroids. So that's and she told me I wouldn't be able to have kids until I got them removed. She told me that there would be a procedure where they would have to go in and cut them out, and I would have to wait probably a year or so before I could actually even try to have any children. I found out about the Fibroid Treatment Collective. Honestly, I was hearing about it on KJLH, and I didn't even think anything of it. I thought it was just one of those silly commercials that was just trying to get money. I was convinced about the embolization when I attended the webinars. Not only that, Dr. McLucas, he explained the process completely. And it seemed really, and mind you, I never had any major surgery, so I'm completely terrified. Like, I've never been under the needle, the knife, no nothing. But the way he explained it, the staff was so nice. He was like, it's a non-invasive surgery. You won't really feel anything. You'll be up and running the next day. And I was like, this is too good to be true, so I have to try it. Well, my uterus was the size of pretty much like a small watermelon, like a cantaloupe. And before, I would have heavy, long, painful periods. And in result of that, I was anemic. So I would lose a lot of blood. I would have migraines after, lightheaded. But after the embolization, like, my periods were so light. Like, it was like unbelievable. It's like, is this normal? So not only that, I had a lot more energy. I had no more migraines. I went back to the doctor, got tested. I wasn't anemic anymore. Now I had a hard time with my first son. I was in the hospital for 5 weeks because of the fibroids. And now I'm pregnant again, and I am very excited. The fibroids have shrunk, and I'm just really excited to see how this pregnancy will unfold, because I mean, I'm just elated. We're hoping, my husband and I, we're hoping for a girl. We have a boy. He's very active, so we need something to kind of to mellow it out and to kind of bring some. And hey, I need another girl in my life. I have a bunch of boys, so I think that'll be great.
The worst part of having fibroids is how you have to make accommodations. Your life truly changes. You work around the fibroids. I would go to the office. It didn't matter where I went. I had to make accommodations. And it becomes your new normal. And you know you have to live day by day. And how am I going to get through this day? Fibroids definitely affect my desire for sex, because you're not in the mood. I didn't have much of a libido. And it was just something I didn't want to deal with. In addition, it was very painful. And I knew I didn't want to have a hysterectomy, and I did not want to go through a third myomectomy. Unfortunately, there's an opportunity for them to recur. And that was my situation. I had a recurrence, and they came back with a vengeance. So I went from having 4 to 5 removed to, with my second myomectomy, I had over 20 fibroids that were removed. I did my research, and I learned about Dr. McLucas. The Fibroid Treatment Collective inspired me to get this procedure because it was another option for me. I had already experienced 2 major procedures. I knew in my heart that I didn't want to experience it anymore, but I needed to be free of these symptoms. So basically, they cut off the blood supply. They deprive the fibroids of oxygen, and they cut the blood supply off so they have no opportunity to continue to grow and thrive. It's such a major difference. They're polar opposite. With my myomectomy, it was a procedure where they cut from one end of my abdomen to the other, and you have stitches, internal stitches and stitches on the outside, compared to going in and you just have a Band-Aid. So they're polar opposites. I love my life. That same year that I had the procedure, my husband and I went on a cruise. We've had vacations. I've done rock climbing. I am now in a Zumba class. I'm really taking advantage of my freedom, and it really does feel like you have freedom. My libido improved, and obviously my relationship with my husband improved as well. It's kind of like you've been holding your breath for a very long time and you're finally allowed to breathe. It was such a relief. And the symptoms they disappeared. I was a little surprised at that. I thought it would be more gradual, but they just disappeared. If I had only known then what I know now, I would never have had one myomectomy, let alone two. And my goal is to pay it forward, to share my experience with other women who were just as ignorant as I was about the procedure so that they don't have to suffer for years. I've suffered for over 20 years with fibroids, and that is no way to live.
Well, the biggest thing was about 2 years before I had the procedure. I was having intercourse with my partner, and he hit one that was in my uterine wall. And I felt it, and we stopped, and it was fine. But then the next day when I woke up, I began hemorrhaging, and I hemorrhaged for a month straight, like nothing I'd ever experienced before. I was a little bit nervous. It was in the back of my head, like, please don't let that happen again. He was terrified. We were both terrified. The relationship ultimately ended. I mean, we're still friends, but he didn't deal with it very well. He kind of freaked out, and I was left to deal with it on my own. So, I mean, it's fine now. Us women, we're strong. But it was terrifying. My gynecologist said, if this happens again, you're going to need a blood transfusion. So that was when we got serious about it, and that's when she told me about Dr. McLucas and the fibroid embolization procedure. She had several patients with fibroids, and she had referred them to him, and they had wonderful experiences with him. So I went in and I booked a consultation with him. After meeting with him, I was like blown away by the thought of the procedure, because prior to that, the only other options I'd heard of was a myomectomy or a hysterectomy. And I want to have children. I know I'm 39, but I'm still ready to have kids and have a family. And the thought of having a myomectomy and being down for whatever it is, like 6 weeks at a time, or a hysterectomy just was not an option for me. It's really, really simple. It's not even considered surgery. It's considered a procedure, which is great. I got up in the morning and went over to the hospital, and everybody took such amazing care of me. They walked me through everything step by step, and when it came time to take me into the room, they make an incision into my artery over here, and they put a catheter in there, and what they do is they go up to the blood vessels that are supplying blood to the fibroid, and they cut off the blood circulation to that fibroid. So essentially the fibroid shrinks and starves itself. I thought about looking into some homeopathic methods, but I really believed that this was my only option, and I felt safe and comfortable with this option. And then I decided, you know what? Actually, I'm going to do this for myself, because I don't want to wait any longer. And when I do meet my right partner, I want to be ready to go to be able to start a family. I don't have cramps at all anymore. Just the confidence with it, and then the security, and just the peace of mind is incredible. I mean, really, I'm kicking myself for not doing it sooner.
When I found out I had fibroids, I can't explain what I felt like. It was more so like, why me? Like, because we don't understand, why do they happen? Where do they come from? So I did a little research, and I was always hearing the commercials, about embolization. And because I have PPO insurance, I decided to take advantage of it. I've always been a small woman. And I had this pooch. I didn't understand where the pooch was coming from. And it was because I had these fibroids, and it was like I didn't know my uterus was not a normal size. And to look at all these girls, Hollywood makes the girls look glamorous, and they have no stomach, and I always had a little pooch. After the embolization, I felt great in a two-piece bathing suit. It's always a good thing when you're dealing with a doctor and he has a great staff. The staff at Dr. McLucas' office, beforehand and the aftercare, they were A1 as well. I would tell women with fibroids to give the Fibroid Treatment Collective a call. Why would you want to get cut unnecessarily? That's invasive. I had one little puncture wound about the size of a pinhole in my groin. I was back at work in a couple of days. It was great.